When America was attacked, America came together. You know, our history may not be perfect, or we can talk all about us, but at the end of the day, we are the greatest country in this world. And you saw it in the heroism of the firefighters, the rescue personnel that were there. But that spirit of unity is what we want to talk about this morning as you hear from individuals at this podium, which is, can we live in that same spirit that we had immediately after the tragedy? When you would walk down the street and someone would smile at you or extend you help, or when firefighters stood at intersections asking for donations and expecting $25,000 and got $250,000. Can we still live in that same spirit today without having to have a tragedy to spur it? That's our challenge. And instead of our challenge, I would say that's our opportunity.
So he invited us to Hangar 17 at JFK Airport, a hangar that was big enough to handle 3 747s, where all of the World Trade Center 9/11 artifacts were housed. For 2 hours, our delegation that went up there did not speak. It was that overwhelming. We then found this piece of steel, this steel that was among thousands of pieces of steel, with, in addition to fire trucks, ambulances, police cars, subway cars that were all damaged in this huge hangar. We chose this steel because on it has FDNY 4 times. The significance of that 4 times of FDNY on it are that it indicated a body of a firefighter was in proximity to the steel. We wanted to bring those 4 firefighters here so that we would never forget what they did for us.
To never forget is to honor the 343 firefighters that made that ultimate sacrifice. The honor these brave men and women earned goes far beyond their actions of 9/11. They left behind a legacy of dedication, of determination, and bravery that far exceeds any measurement. In their honor, we must exemplify the character, determination, and leadership that they showed on that fateful morning. To never forget means that while all the events of 9/11 have long since ended, that thousands of families will never be the same. It is with memorials like this and others around it that our members here with the Charlottesville Fire Department and members of the community have the opportunity to reflect on the sacrifices of that day and ensure that we here in Charlottesville never forget.
I have a great affinity for this site, for this Fontaine Fire Station, for a number of reasons. One is, this is my neighborhood. I've lived here for 36 years, and it's been so very important that the station is here in this neighborhood. You know, already 5 lives have been saved simply because our emergency response has been cut down so much in this neighborhood. That matters. We cannot underestimate how important, when we tell our history, how important it is to have the physical manifestations. And that is why I so appreciate, and I know you all too, the hard work that went into bringing these pieces of our history here.
Sociologists use the term collective memory to refer to the memory of a momentous event that is shared by a group or an entire society. For my parents' generation, their first collective memory was the bombing of Pearl Harbor. For my own generation, our first collective memory was the assassination of President John Kennedy. The 9/11 tragedy is the first collective memory for many young people today. But the last of those young people who can actually remember it will be entering this fall. They were 3 or 4 years old when the Twin Towers fell. And we know that things that happen before you're 3, you might think you remember them because your parents told you about them, but you don't really remember. And so we're really entering the edge of the end of the collective memory, but the recollection now of what happened. And those are the people for whom this memorial is the most important. It's the people who won't remember it directly as much as those of us who really do remember it.
Well, yesterday morning, before 6 a.m., I drove past this site with 3 medical students. You see Once a week, I take medical students to an off-site where we work with patients. And I asked them, I said, do you know what this building is all about? And one said, you know, there's a really wonderful piece of art that they have hanging. And the other said, yeah, I think that's art. It's really a beautiful building. So I asked them where they were on 9/11, and they talked to me about hearing of the event when they were in 5th, 6th, and 7th grade. You know, in not too many years, future medical students will have been too young to personally remember the event, and so a functional monument like this is going to be really valuable for them, whether it saves their lives or creates an understanding of sacrifice and service. So this new fire station is a fitting place for this memorial, and its location on Summit Street is appropriately named for such an inspiring place.
The fire department is a family. It's not a family that you're born into, it's one that you choose. And the bonds across the lines are just truly amazing, that allow us all to be part of things like this memorial. I met Chief Warner years back at the International Association of Fire Chiefs. And I said to him, Chief, how do I get involved with the Technology Council? He said, you want to be on? You're on. And that's how I met the Chief, and we've done some good things together, and I have the utmost respect for him. So the family bond is just truly amazing, which helps, I know, me and a lot of others continue on and do what we do. Never forget, honor the past and honor the fallen. Never forget, learn from what happened. Train for the future. There are many lessons learned, and I believe as a fire service, we're all coming together to learn those lessons to advance us for the future.
It is our task to honor that memory, which we do today. It's our task to never forget the special privilege that living as an American bestows upon us. And at another time and another place, the fallen wrote this, and if you'll permit me. In Flanders fields the poppies blow between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky the larks, still bravely singing, fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from failing hands we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders field. You've all carried that torch.
I grew up in a firehouse. My dad was a career firefighter for 33 years. So I know I have to be very careful about what I say, and I know I have to be brief. He always used to warn me before I visited him at work, there's already too much bullshit in a firehouse. Don't add to it. And I will try to follow his advice. On October 17th, 1966, he worked a fire on 23rd Street in Manhattan. 12 firefighters were killed in the basement of a drugstore. I went to their funeral with him. It was the first time I heard the bagpipes and experienced countless uniforms, long salutes, and tears from people who never cry. I was both very sad and very proud. On our way home, I asked him, how did they die? He simply replied, they were doing their jobs. They were doing what firemen do. I then asked him, what can we do for them? And he looked at me and said, never forget.
The dedication, it's not something that we think of as something extra. It's like, hey, I'm a firefighter. When I started in the fire service, I was a volunteer. I was doing this for free and for fun. And I found somebody who was willing to pay me to do it. sure. And that's the way it is. It's not where you see it as a danger. Or we do dangerous things, but as has been said here, we're a family, and we do these things because that's what we do. It's not a choice. Let's go. So when the bells ring and the lights come on, we go out the door. 9/11, nobody hesitated. Everybody was off like a shot, and nobody gave a thought as to, well, and we don't think that way for any call, as to, well, maybe I won't come back. That's not an option. We go. We always go. And there's a lot of dedication. I mean, the firefighters here, firefighters everywhere, all first responders. They have that dedication, and that's what this represents. It's their dedication to the job. They went without reservation. They went without any thought as to what may occur. We go and we do the best we can, and we just keep going.
I had gotten a little HP 315 digital for the first time, took a few test shots, and I thought, oh, well, when I got home from the car show, I thought how cool it would be to catch Trigger on his next flyover. So I had the digital camera by the door. Otherwise, it would have been tucked in a box, forgotten in a closet. Well, 9/11 happened before Trigger made his next flyover. Sorry. But I heard the plane. I thought it was a small plane. And heard the crash. I walked out, my front door just opened. As soon as I opened it, the fireball. Grabbed the camera, took it, one picture, dropped it. The electricity was out. I couldn't get my garage door open, couldn't do anything. The phones were out. I couldn't reach my husband. So got my truck. My neighbor helped me get the garage door open. I went over. Our sawmill was only a mile away. They said, yeah, Val, that wasn't a small plane. That was a commercial airliner. And some of our guys were up in the log field, saw it go in. And some were first responders, and they left and went up. And till this day, they won't talk about it. They said things people should never see. So what you guys do, it's unbelievable.
So when there is a firefighter line of duty death in New York City, there's a ceremonial sounding of a box 5555. And one time Dave and I had been in New York City, and one of those boxes were sounded while we were there. This announces that a firefighter has responded to his last alarm. So in memory of the 4 firefighters who lost their lives on September 11th that were found lying near this 9/11 memorial stele, and in the memory of all firefighters who have died in the line of duty, we want to sound box 5555.